Hey, what's up everybody? I'm back. Today we're tying a belly scratcher game changer in a Sculpin pattern. It's going to be tied on a size 1 Ahrex 26 degree, and then got them in olive as well, but this is going to be a 2/0. We're going to tie a size 1. I like these hooks and this way of tying it as a belly scratcher, because that fly will fall horizontal in the water, and not if you weigh that head on a jig hook, it's going to fall like this, and then your poles are going to be upwards. I want this to be a deep water fly. Probably get fished on a intermediate line or an S3, S5 to get deep on those smallmouth. But I want this to be a linear. When I'm pulling it through the water, I don't want it to jig like crazy, and if I let it fall, it's going to fall like this. So let's get this going. I got my full suede, tied some little tails with it in olive, and I've tied 2 extra ones that we're going to put up front for the side fins. You can see it on this. Just make it look a little more realistic. Doesn't really change the action of the fly or anything. Let's start with a tail articulated section, 6mm. These are really small, so it's fairly annoying to tie, but definitely worth it when you see that swim out of them. Nano silk 50 denier. Just gonna add a little bit of wax to this so the tail doesn't slip on me when I tie. Let's tie the tail in. I always like to put it on top, do a couple wraps, and then come place it on the side. It's not gonna look perfect, but once you take it off the vise, it's gonna be straight in line. Just because you have this your vise pushing it sideways, but don't worry about that. And then we'll use the Chocklett Game Changer chenille. I know some people think it's too big for these shanks, but it's actually not. But you just need to find the good sections in the chenille, because some of these sections are like super stiff or like completely crinkled, and some of the parts are really bad and not really usable. You can see this area right here. I just go in and cut some sections that are actually straight and not completely wrapped up. And then there's also a way that fiber is facing. So you can see it's facing that way, so we're going to tie in this way. I like to just take off a couple of the fibers, grab it, and then you're just tying it by that white piece of whatever holds all those fibers in together on that chenille. Tie it in. With the 50 denier, it's extremely strong thread, and but it's extremely thin, so you're able to tie these really small articulations. So this, we're gonna go 3 wraps, and every wrap I'm gonna pull everything backwards. There's 1. There's 2. It's gonna be a tight one. It really depends on the color of the chenille you got, because some colors are extremely thin and super easy to work with, and then some others are super thick and really annoying. I'm not even sure if you guys can see this. So I like to put my thumb like right next to the eye, and then I'm going to take my thread and go through 4 times just to secure that in place. You don't need to put some pressure on it. And then I take these 2 fingers, bring everything back to expose the eye, and then put some pressure. And then every wrap, I'm gonna take that wrap and then pull it towards the vise, just to create some space, and then this shit happens too. That's fucking crazy, man. Come on. Let's try and put this back in. It's gonna be a little annoying, but we'll do it. Fine with these tail section, they cut a lot. So before you start, you can apply some thread close to that eye. And then, so this is done, we're gonna cut it pretty close as you can. Take all the excess ones out. I like to wet it. And then apply some thread wraps on top of what you just cut. Do a couple wraps. And I've been testing these, and I've caught a bunch of fish on these, and you don't, oh, see, now I came forward. Honestly, the most annoying part in these is just tying those two first sections. All right. Whip finish. Be careful when you're pulling on your thread, because these sections are so small that they're gonna come off your vise fairly often. There you go. And then put a little bit of glue. Just a tiny bit. So I like having those really small sections. I don't know if you can see it. I need this fly right here. There's like three of the really small sections. So I got the 6mm tail section, I got two 6mm regular sections, and I just find them, it moves much better in the water than just doing, I don't know, 4 10mm of the regular ones. Those micro sections, they move so much in the water. This is a different one I'll probably show in a different video, the little tails. So this tail section's done. We're gonna take the 6mm micros. There's a lot in there. I buy a shit ton of packs and just put them in one pack. Then I like to keep this on my vise unless I'm making a ton of them at the same time. I just want that glue to dry. Have some pliers. I don't have any nails. I buy my nails off, so just, these are so small. Alright, got it on there, and I just use my, whatever is left of my nail, to pull this section back and put it in. Got it. Alright. Now on to the next. Still doing 50. We're probably going to do 50 for all the fly except the hook section. I'll have to put some weight on there. These are fairly long ties, so just make sure you do every step right and you put that glue, because you don't want to get to the front, have a fish or two, and then your chenille gets unwrapped on the second to last step. So let's take a different section here. I'm gonna rip some of the fibers off to expose this white piece. Grab it. I like to do a couple wraps and then put the chenille towards me, and then I tie all the way up to the end of that shank. Then cover the front too with some wraps, because that will cut your thread as well. And then, so we'll go 3 wraps again on the 6 mil. 1, 2, and 3. Then use that thumb to push it back. I know it's hard to see, but just try and use my thumb to push that back. Shake the whole table, why not? And then do 4 wraps to secure it. Don't need to tie it. And then take everything back, put some pressure, then every wrap push backwards. Every wrap push backwards. That's done. Cut this off. That eye is nice and exposed. Try and grab some of that chenille that you cut off. It might fall back in front like this. The olive I find is a little too thick for these small sections. It could still work, but it is a little thick. There are some colors that are not thick, like the white, the gray. What else do we got? The chartreuse is nice as well for the small articulations. But like the, I got some of the yellows. Let me show you this. This yellow one, the small mini perch with. This thing is a shit show. The yellow is so thick, and the wraps are just massive, so it's really hard to tie those small sections. But on 8 to 10 millimeter sections, it's completely fine. But these tiny ones, a little crazy. Trying to wet it, bring all the fibers back so you don't trap any, and then we'll whip finish. I like to do 2 times 3 or 1 times 4, 1 times 3. There you go. Nice and secure. Put some glue. Maybe you haven't seen my other video, but if you have, then you know, but now live in Oklahoma. Been fishing a bit lately for nice largemouth. On the pre-spawn, they're eating a ton of shad. It's crazy. I've been tying these things. Man, they move like crazy, and these shad, nice little shad pattern, double hook. Caught some catfish on this thing. I've caught some drum. I've caught multiple largemouth and some white bass too, which are really fun. We don't have those in Quebec, so that's actually fight a lot for their size. And then we'll take 8 millimeter. I have 1 left of this. The Blaine Chocklett. They're the same as the fish gulls, but the store didn't have any fish gull left in stock, so they sent me those. Same technique. Use your fingernail to pry it open, and then bring it in. So this is going to be an 8 mil. These things are so small. Might not have the best vise for this as well. But hey, apply some thread. Close the shank up. And cover the front. You'll hear it when you're doing threads of wrap. That underneath section of wire will cut your thread. So make sure to cover it before you start tying, and the back section will also cut it too. Kind of annoying, but it is what it is. All right. Expose the white middle part of the chenille. Couple wraps, bring it towards me, and then wrap it all the way to the back. This just makes it super clean. See, a lot of people just tie it straight up without taking those fibers out. It just doesn't look as good. Alright, so we're going to do 4 to 5 wraps. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5, I guess. Go with 5 wraps. Then your same technique again. Doesn't matter if you trap some fibers on those couple wraps, because you're gonna bring everything back after. Tie in, bring everything back, and it exposes it nicely. Go, cut this off, figure it out. All right. Try and grab that piece that you cut so it's a little more secure. This one's annoying. We've already locked it in place, so it's not as bad if you can't get it over that section that you cut, but go with finish. It's blue. 17 minutes already. Man, this is gonna be long. Maybe I'll just fast forward the rest. I don't know. These are long plies to tie. Like I said, just take your time and secure every single section. If not, you're going to be very disappointed once you get on the water. Let's go to a 10 millimeter. Another micro section. Or no, that's a standard shank actually. Same technique. Hold it. Pliers. And bring it in. Secure it. Chenille again. They're the same thing all the way forward, but I just keep it like this just to tell you guys how many wraps and sorry. 4 and 5. Secure it. Push everything back. These are much easier to tie than those micro sections. Holy shit. See, that will happen. This thread is really strong, but it's also very slippery. Wet it. Now we'll do one more section of the 10 mil. But we fast forward the spot. Alright, the annoying section is done. Take this off the vise, trim it later. Definitely doing fast part of the video on the trimming. Put the number 1 Ahrex bent streamer in, and then we'll take some wire. You don't need crazy wire, you don't need to put another shank here. Just adds weight for nothing. There's no pressure on the back articulations. If you had a hook back there, then it would be different. I'm just using, I think it's like, what is that, like 14-pound wire. It's like almost intruder wire. I'll take some wax thread. This is, I think, 210 Ultra. There we go. Attach the wire. And bring it back to the bend. And then we'll take this neat little box with all my weights, my beads. We'll take a large tungsten scud weight, and we'll put it on the bottom part of this fly. There's grooves on it, so you can use it to secure. There it is. So you got that weight on the bottom, so that bait will fall horizontal. Attach your articulations upside down. Doesn't really matter, but attach it with that wire. I like to have it fairly tight in the back. Still got good movement, but it's pretty tight on there. And you can snip it. These things are mangled. Alright. Then we'll put, I like to put a some thread in the back, some thread in front, so the chenille is not falling off or sliding off of it when you're tying it in. It's got a nice bump in front, bump in the back. Help it keep in place too. Put some glue on this too. Alright, put a good amount of glue on there. And we'll be back when it dries up to finish this fly. Alright, see you in a bit. Alright, that front hook is dry. Take a longer piece of chenille, rip the ends, expose the white, and we'll tie this in the back, obviously. Go all the way back to that wire, so the gap between your hook and those sections are not too big. And then we'll stop the wraps a little bit in front of the weight to add the fins. So we'll wrap this thing. Every wrap you want to take your fingers and bring those fibers back just to help them go the way you want. You can untwist it. And then we'll go over. Those grooves will also help to maintain your chenille there. That will also happen, but just make it nice and tight. A couple more wraps up front of that hook or the weight, and tie this off. Hold it tight, fold everything back, and then secure your thread up front. Cut this off, and then just try and bring that thread a little over. And then a whip finish here. So I like to trim my fly right now before putting the fins in, because once the fins are in, it's going to be really hard to trim that side of the body. You don't want to cut the fins off. And that's happened to me a couple times and very annoying. Alright, so the way I trim this, I turn this around and then like this. Then I'll turn the vise towards me, can angle it down. Not sure if you guys will be able to see this, but then I hold the tail, put my scissors pretty close to that tail, and then angle forward. Turn the vise the other way. Hold that tail. I'm gonna move this a bit. Same technique, take your scissors close to that tail, a nice angle, so you can go all the way to the front. So I'll be turning a lot of that off. And then sideways too. If you do those reverse cuts, it's much easier than doing the cuts from the other side. Scissors won't really go into the material. Just make sure your hook is straight and you're cutting the sides only. Alright. There's a lot more to be trimmed, but that can wait for the end. Take it off. You already got that nice little bait fish look to it. And then I like to take the sides and then trim those sides. Reverse it. Trim the other side. Looks pretty good already. Trim the belly. And then that top part is kind of the annoying part to trim. That hook point is there, but you just find a way. You guys can't see this. You can trim quite a bit at the top. You want that hook to be exposed and then just to have that nice taper for that front piece. The chenille that we're going to put in. Already looks very good. And your best friend, you're doing game changers, any type of game changers. Super quick. I don't like those trays that you put in. There's all those little different ones. Right, let's put this back in. We'll see if my focus is on point or not. Let's just try to adjust this. There it is. That's a little better. Alright, and then we'll put those side fins in. You need some thread before that though. Going back to the 50. Bring it back to where you stopped. I place it and then I use my thumb on here just to hold it where I want it to be. A couple wraps. Actually, this side looks more green. Not sure why. Flip it. Alright. It's going to look like this. Then let's do the other side. Get both sides. Shear it. Alright, and then we'll keep going with the chenille again. Again with the chenille. It's kind of boring after a while, but these flies are so effective. You need some of these in your boxes. Just the movement they have is freaking crazy. I've been fishing a lot lately with actually two game changers. I'll put like a mini game changer up front and then a little bigger one in the back. I'm talking like an inch and a half, an inch and a quarter game changer, and then maybe a 2-incher in the back. And just the way I set it up on my rod with the swivels, man, they move like, I'm sure you've seen those spinning guys that fish with 2 flukes. It's kind of the same system, and it's a very good search setup when you don't know where the fish are. Fish are aggressive, but you're just not quite sure where they are. I throw 2 on and then cast and hope. Cast and hope. I think that double game changer will get me double smallies in Quebec this summer for sure. You always have these you always bring back these fish that have stranglers, and they got their buddy coming in to inspect what's going on and what's in their mouth, and so you're bringing that bass in. That second bass is definitely going to eat that second game changer that's on there. It's going to be so freaking funny. But having 2 smallies on a 6-weight fly rod in the St. Lawrence River, it's going to be hilarious. Alright, so let's secure this. I have to change the battery in this thing. Then the only thing that's left will be to trim that last part that you just tied. Put some eyes in, some UV resin. So that fly will last you 150, 200 fish, maybe even more. If you don't get snagged on bottom, then it might be 0 fish. But it is what it is. Put all this time in to tie this fly, and happened to me 2 or 3 days ago in the Arkansas River here in Tulsa. Literally my first cast, I just hit this freaking tree that was on the bottom, lost 2 game changers. Real tough. But caught about 10, 12 largies after that, so that was really fun. But yeah, you just never know. It takes a lot of time to tie them, but they're just so deadly. See this color. You don't see too much of the yellows out there. My little tails. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have to change the battery and then we'll finish trimming this. Alright. Only thing left is to trim the front end. And so just put it in fast. Alright, it looks good enough for now. This little Goby, Sculpin. Be good for trout too. Nice hungry big trout. And then one thing that's left, put the eyes on. And the resin. What do we got for eyes? She got some living eyes in 6mm. You don't really need the eyes, but I like to have them done. Secures the head nicely. Just gonna use some Gorilla This one's good because it has a brush on the end. I like to dab a little bit on there. On the bigger eyes, I'll put the glue on the eyes, but these eyes are really small, so I don't want to get it all over my fingers. There you go, one eye's done. Do the other side. Nice and clean. And we'll just put some resin on there. Got some Solar Res thin. Like the thin on these, so it'll actually go into the fibers. The medium is a little too thick for my liking on these small flies, especially on the that Game Changer chenille. Will really get into the fibers. At the top. Then we'll do bottom. Like I said, these flies take a long time to tie. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but fast forward through it if you want. It's the same thing on the back steps for the articulations. And then I like to cover the eyes. Alright. Cover the eyes with the resin. I don't know if the something happened to my camera. Told me there was a write error. Hope it's not the same issue I had a year ago. I had to send in my camera to Fujifilm because it wasn't writing on the card anymore. It's kind of weird, but we'll see. Hopefully everything's good. Maybe the camera's too hot. I don't know. Alright. Get it over the eyes. And we're done. Got this nice Sculpin pattern, Goby pattern for the St. Lawrence. This thing is absolutely deadly. Belly scratcher. Horizontal fall. Very natural look. As I said, those little tiny articulations in the back will make that tail wiggle, but just these really small subtle wiggles. Really love this thing. There you go. Try and get a thumbnail at the same time. Oh, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's up. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and the next one will probably be on this little baby right here. Nightmare Musky Flies, Flash and Fiber. Been very successful for me. Alright. Hopefully this worked out, and you guys have a good one. See ya.